Hey guys, it's me and I'm back for another video. This is part 2 of my Why I'm No Longer Vegan video and I'm really excited to dive into today. If you have not seen that part 1, I highly recommend it. It will just give you a good sort of background and outline of my vegan journey. It really shares why I first went vegan and then what was sort of happening towards the end of my veganism, which made me want to switch to eating an omnivorous diet. So this video is going to be all about how I felt now having eaten animal products for the past year, my experience with adding in animal products, sort of how I went about it, and then of course the most important thing, the health benefits that I have received from adding in back animal products. Like I said in that first video, I really dragged my feet with making it because there was so much I wanted to say. So naturally, I did like a 40-minute video and then I uploaded it, and that whole night I couldn't sleep because I was like, why did I mention this? Why didn't I mention that? Like, I did not really portray what I was wanting to do. And so I just, to calm myself down, one, I just need to remind myself that I'm going to make more videos regarding this and really dive into all of those topics that I like really quickly brushed over in that first video. I'm going to be diving into the pitfalls of the vegan diet nutritionally, and diving into sort of the ethical argument, especially the argument with like going vegan will save the planet. There's a lot of research that I've been doing, not only just online, but in person with farmers that I work with at the farmers market regarding regenerative farming and the necessity that they have seen with using animals to grow healthy crops and have fertile soil. So I will be diving into a lot of those topics more. But like I said, I wanted to give sort of a good overview and background of just my story so you guys understand where I'm coming at. Now, there were many things that I think I should have said that I didn't in that video, so I'm going to just sort of quickly go over some of those things before I dive into the rest of this video. So first off, in that video, I said that I was anorexic, and then like a year into my anorexia, I went vegan, and then I had to stop being vegan because my family was like, no, you can't do this anymore. And then I mentioned that I started really getting into like Weston A Price. Weston A Price is a well, he's a doctor, first off. Weston A. Price is a doctor who went and studied all the Aboriginal communities, specifically their teeth, and he was really questioning, like, why is it that these communities have straight teeth, they have healthy gums, healthy mouth, and they don't have any cavities and tooth decay. So he was really looking at their diets and why it is that they were so healthy, and he really noticed that they were healthy in so many other ways. They were there was very low sort of chronic disease in these communities that he was studying. And it turns out that they were eating a very wholesome diet filled with lots of animal products, a lot of organ meat, so like liver, kidneys, brain, all that stuff, lots of good organic raw milk and butter and dairy products, slow fermented grains, sourdough bread. So just a very sort of good, wholesome diet with very sort of fresh foods, fermented foods, and animal products. So I really developed that way of eating, which is very, very similar to the way that I grew up eating. My mom is French, so we grew up eating bone marrow and octopus and squid and mussels and pate and cod liver, and like that was sort of a staple in our household. So I sort of just went back to my roots of what I grew up eating. During that time, this is something I didn't mention in that video, during that time my health did improve dramatically, okay? So I was still definitely restricting myself in regards to like how much I ate in the beginning parts, like right after I went from vegan, but even just seeing like restrictive vegan to restrictive animal products, I thrived so much more eating a diet that was filled with animal products. So that was for like the first maybe year, and then I did get to this place of healing where I wasn't fully recovered. I didn't do all that it takes to fully recover from my eating disorder, i.e. completely stop my exercise addiction, which was a huge thing that was really holding me back. But I continued to exercise, but I was eating really well, and I did see a clear up of a lot of the health conditions that I experienced while I first went vegan. I mentioned that I went vegan because of my vitiligo, which is the spots on my skin. What I did not mention in that video was that, oddly enough, my vitiligo got better once I started incorporating animal products back into my diet. So that is huge. So I went vegan because I thought it would clear up my vitiligo, but in reality, all that happened was I really just deteriorated really quickly. I had awful health and my vitiligo didn't move at all. Started incorporating animal products and vitiligo started healing. So I sort of ate this way for a while, and towards the end, the last like 2-3 years of eating that way, my health was in a relatively stable place for quasi recovery. I didn't have a period back. Again, that was because of the exercise addiction, but I had gained a lot of weight. So I was no longer hovering in the like BMI of 14 zone. I was like at a BMI of 18, which is low. And right now I totally understand how that is not a good BMI for me. I cannot have a healthy menstrual cycle at that low of a BMI, and most women can't. If you look at Dr. Nicola Rinaldi's work, she's like the top expert in amenorrhea. She says that a good healthy BMI is 22, and oddly enough, right when I hit that BMI mark in my recovery of 22, that is when I got my period back. So I know that that's a healthier BMI for me, even though the 18 BMI, according to the chart, which there's a lot of things wrong with it anyways, but according to it, that's like a healthy BMI. So I thought I was fine. I was like, I'm totally good. So I just wanted to say this because a lot of people will say, oh, the vegan diet isn't what destroyed you, it was the eating disorder. So I just want to reiterate, by the time that I went vegan for the second time, I went vegan because I thought I was healed enough. I went, great, I've been eating lots of food, I've been gaining weight and all of that for the last couple years. My hair's not falling out anymore. I have energy. I have better sleep. I had better digestion. So I was definitely at like a stable-ish place, obviously not fully recovered, which is the ultimate place of stability, but I was in a stable enough place to think like, okay, now let me go vegan. When I went vegan, this is really, really important, I want you guys to understand, I was vegan for 4 years, and for 3 of those years, 3.5 even, for 3.5 of those years, I was eating an abundant amount of food. Let me say that again. I was not restricting, besides the last 6 months of my vegan diet. During those 3 years, I was not restricting my food at all. I was eating lots of sweet potatoes, like at least 2 big sweet potatoes for dinner with, say, like some quinoa with chickpeas and maybe like half an avocado and a salad. I was eating lots of dates. I was eating tons of almond butter and tahini and peanut butter. I was eating tons of tempeh and tofu. I absolutely love tempeh. I still like it. I have it in my fridge right now. So I was eating sauces, and I was eating olive oil. I was eating, like, what else? I wasn't restricting at that time. I was trying to recover via being vegan. So I was trying to gain weight and be vegan. I was trying to heal from my eating disorder and be vegan. I was very adamant about it, and I was at the place mentally where I was ready for that. I was incorporating all these new foods. I wasn't fearful of food anymore. Like I said, I was trying to gain weight. I was able to travel. I was able to do all these things. I went on like a 4-month trip out to Europe with 70 other people for school, and I was vegan at the time, but I wasn't anxious about the food. I was like, I'll just find vegan options. It's okay. I did even eat some animal products while I was there. I had gelato. I had fish when I was in Cinque Terre. I ate meat when I was with my grandma, like very little amounts, but I wasn't like such a rigid, like, I have to stick to this diet. Like, I was a huge activist, and yes, but I also understood that I had the passive eating disorder and I needed to be a little lenient. But I was 98% plant-based with just that like little bit of leniency because I knew it was healthy for me. I was also at the point where people thought I was healed. Like, my family really took a step back of mentioning this stuff to me. I seemed like I was in a pretty healthy place. The only thing that I was doing was I was choosing to be vegan. My parents though were like, okay, you're at a healthy weight though, you seem fine mentally, you're not like super stressed and anxious about things anymore. If there was like a little bit of butter in something, it's like, okay, whatever, fine, there's a little bit of butter in it. I wasn't really like, I cared, but again, because I knew I had the passive and eating disorder, I didn't care as much. So I hope that just helps you understand that um, while I had an eating disorder during this time, the eating disorder was the orthorexia and sticking to wanting to be vegan, and the eating disorder wasn't active anorexia where I was actively trying to lose weight and hating my body and really restricting food and not wanting to eat and not saying yes to dinners and all of that. I was totally past that. Again, I had healed a lot. I feel like I'm rambling now, but I just really want to make that point that my veganism was not in an active anorexic state. It was in a full-blown orthorexic state because I was very, very preoccupied with what I was eating, and I really wanted to be clean and pure, even though, like I said, there was like a 2% margin where I was fine, like sort of breaking that, but that 98%, I really wanted to eat a fully vegan diet. Now, in the last 6 months is really when a lot of the health problems really started to rise. I was having the tingling in my feet. My teeth were so sensitive, like they were gonna fall out. And here I am, 25 years old, and my teeth are gonna fall out? Like, what the heck? Like, that shouldn't be happening. And again, I was eating upwards of 2,500 calories a day minimum. Minimum, guys. I did not have a problem with food at that time. I was over exercising, yes, okay, so that's why I kept sort of a lower weight, but I did not have a problem with food. So all this stuff was happening. I still didn't have my period back. My digestion just started getting so bad. So bad. Chronically bloated, guys. I mean, you eat that many vegetables, and it's like, no, duh, Chloe, I was bloated. Like, all I ate was fiber. Fiber, whole grains, beans, more veggies, more beans, more veggies, more beans. Like, yes, of course, my stomach really, really hurt. So chronically constipated, chronically bloated at that time, which is why in the last 6 months of my vegan journey, I decided that I needed to start doing some sort of cleanse or really like hone in on my diet because I was experiencing a lot of pain. So I was trying to fix the chronic pain and all the negative symptoms that I was having, which I now see were a cause of the vegan diet and just the lack of nutrition that's available in that diet and the imbalance of it. So obviously me restricting more was not going to help more, but you have to understand the reason why I went to that restricting again was because I needed to fix all of these problems that my abundant vegan diet gave me. So I started doing all that stuff. This I mentioned in the last video, so I know I'm repeating myself now. So let's fast forward to I really realized that, hey, the vegan diet is not what it's cracked up to be. It's not the holy grail that everyone on the internet is saying, and maybe I need to start questioning this. And I'm actually really used to this, guys, because I have had to do this so many times in my life. I grew up in a very religious household. I really had to do the work to let go of that lens to find out what it is I truly believe. So I left the religion that I grew up in. I had to transform my relationship to food. I had to stop seeing food as the enemy, and I had to start seeing it as my friend. I have had so many other things in my life that has really called me to take a step back and question what it is that I was thinking, believing, and doing. So when it came to me leaving veganism, this is what I had to do. I had to really stop and question, and it was a really familiar process because, like I said, I did this. I think the biggest sort of example of this is when I left my religion. So I really started just diving into this and being like, oh my gosh, okay, so many other people are feeling this way. I started researching and being like, wow, there's no known vegan community, like long-term vegan community that has thrived. There is none. There are vegetarian out in India. They're vegetarian. They eat ghee, they eat eggs. That's a huge help right there. There's a lot of nutrition in eggs. There is no vegan community. When we look at Loma Linda, so I studied public health and we study the blue zones, right? It's surprising to find that when you really look at the studies that a lot of the blue zones aren't as plant-based as they are portrayed. I remember taking a class on blue zones and being like, wow, the Okinawans are actually eating quite a lot of like pork products, animal products. Yes, they're eating an abundance of sweet potatoes, and they're also eating quite a few animal products. Their diet is not void of that at all. Same with like Loma Linda, California. They are a primarily vegetarian based community, and I'm not remembering exactly the stats right off the top of my head, so I'm gonna just, put it right here. But while they serve, a primarily vegetarian diet in their cafeteria, that does not mean that the people who live in Loma Linda are primarily 100% vegan at home. It's not the case. That's not what the studies are showing. So I really started to understand that this vegan thing is an experiment, and I was at the point where I was not willing to go through with this experiment, because so far it was 4 years in at this point. So far, 4 years in, the experiment was failing, and so I really needed to create a new hypothesis, and I needed to start testing out something else. So like I said, I ate those eggs and immediately felt like so grounded. I felt that anxiety leave me. I felt nourished, and I just felt that innate, like, yes, this is what you need to do. And then I mentioned I went and I ate steak that night. There was no holding back here, guys. I had to do it. So my transition was very easy. Keep in mind, like I said, I'd already done a lot of work with my relationship to food, and I was at the point where I was okay eating and I was okay changing things up. That took a while for me to get there, but again, my health was so bad that I had to be okay with this. So I really went gung-ho in this, and it's so weird. Like, I feel like ever since those couple bites of animal products, I like zoomed back to like 14-year-old me before my eating disorders ever happened, and I started just eating how I used to eat. I was eating lots of fish. I ate lots of bone marrow. I ate lots of sardines, lots of cod liver, and lots of herring, lots of bacon, lots of things like that. Like, I really, really went at it, understanding that my body had had enough of vegetables and almond butter and nuts and seeds, and that my body really just needed these nutrient-dense animal products. So for the first, I would say, month, my body rejected any sort of plant-based food. Like, absolutely rejected it. And I ate very little of that stuff. Like, yes, I incorporated some fruits and vegetables in my diet, but to be honest, because sort of the last thing I did was sort of like more of a fruit-based, raw vegan diet, oh my gosh, the last thing my body needed and wanted was more bananas, was more mangoes, was more pineapple. Like, that stuff just absolutely just seemed disgusting to me. So my diet consisted of like 6 egg omelets in the morning with some sauerkraut. And then I would have like pate and toast with maybe like a small salad on the side for lunch. And then I would have like, I'd make a big like salmon with like a hollandaise sauce, roasted potatoes, maybe some like bacon and Brussels sprouts or something for dinner. So still incorporating some plant foods. I wasn't against it. I was just really acknowledging the fact that my body really craved other things. I personally loved it. Like, I was so excited to be eating with my family again. I think that was the biggest benefit, was like, oh my gosh, now I can just like walk into my parents' house and eat whatever my mom made for dinner. Now I can just go out to dinner with my friends, whether at their house or at a restaurant, and not care what they were eating or what restaurant we were going to. So I was at the point mentally where this is what I was craving, guys. I was so sick of restricting and so sick of having to care about my food. I just mentally couldn't take it anymore. And so really just letting go of this was such a relief for me, like such a relief. And it really made me feel like I was myself again, like fully happy, healthy Chloe, like little young Chloe. I felt like her again. And my health at this time continue to improve and improve immensely. So I remember after eating those eggs, let me give you a backstory here. I'm at 11 years of amenorrhea, meaning no period at this point, okay? I had been dry as sand down there, if you know what I mean. Absolutely nothing going on down there. And I mean, I had no hormones. I was eating a cholesterol-free diet. So I had 0 hormones. And it was not only but 3 days later that I remember seeing stuff on, like, in my underwear and being like, oh my gosh, like I have cervical mucus, like things are happening down there. 3 days, guys. 3 days of eating animal products. What really kills me, I do want to just like put in this like sort of side thing here. I remember when I was vegan, listening to some vegan YouTubers, some top vegan YouTubers, who were saying that having a menstrual cycle is not necessary and is a sign that one is toxic. I can't even tell you how much this drives me crazy. Excuse me? You want to say that me losing my period, that me not having a menstrual cycle is healthy? How the fuck do you think the human race has been continuing? Like, what? It's just absolutely bonkers to me now, but in the time I was like, oh, this is good. I'm clean. I'm pure because I don't have a menstrual cycle, because only those people who are toxic are bleeding. Girls, if you are listening to this and if you think that it's okay to not have a menstrual cycle, please, please, please go talk to your gynecologist, someone who has studied this. Ask them what they think. Please go and look up all the stuff from Dr. Nicola Rinaldi. Please go and ask your mother how she had you. Did she have a monthly menstrual cycle? Was she bleeding? How else do you think you got here? How else do you think everyone else has gotten here? It's because women cycle monthly, meaning that they ovulate monthly. It is natural, it is normal, it is how your body, if you are a woman, is designed to work. There's no questioning that. And I'm really, really upset that I questioned that myself. I'm really upset that there are people out there who have young audiences that are saying this type of stuff. It's not healthy, guys. You need that menstrual cycle for so many reasons. It means that you have a proper balance of hormones in your body, proper level of estrogen, which is ridiculously important for your bones, okay? Estrogen plays a huge role in bone turnover, meaning bone growth, because your body has osteoclast and has osteoblast. Osteoblast are growing bones, okay? Osteoclast are constantly breaking down the bone, right? So if you don't have that osteoblastic activity, you're just going to have the osteoclastic activity, meaning you are just breaking down your bones more and more. You need that estrogen to help with that osteoblastic activity, meaning that you are creating bone growth. This is like Anatomy 101. I took many anatomy classes in university for my public health degree. This was something that was said over and over again. So again, I don't know why I was just like okay with not having a menstrual cycle. But, and that's another thing I want to say as we're on this topic. This is sort of a ranty video, but I hope that this all makes sense. A lot of the people that I was following that were thriving on a vegan diet were men. And so let's just go and talk about this, guys. Men are different than women. For what I'm talking about right now, we have different hormones and we have a monthly menstrual cycle. So I would look at like Rich Roll and be like, look how healthy Rich Roll is. He is like an ultra marathon Ironman athlete and he is really healthy and he is thriving on the vegan diet. So why can't I thrive on it? And there's a couple things there. One, he went vegan when he was 40 years old. So think about how many animal products he has eaten in his life. He has a good, healthy store of vitamin B12. I'm just guessing there, but I think it's fair to say that after 40 years of eating an omnivorous diet, that he has good stores of B12. So that's important to keep in mind. Second, he doesn't have a menstrual cycle and he's never had to be pregnant, okay, which pregnancy really depletes you of a lot of your vitamins and minerals. Third, What was my third thing here? Shoot, I can't think of it. What the heck? So we'll just say those two things for now until I remember this thing. I remembered the last thing I wanted to say. I also just wanted to say that he's about 50, maybe 55 max right now. So he has only been vegan for about 10 years. And now that's a lot of years. But I am saying we don't know if, hey, year 12, year 13, he's going to be running into a lot of issues. He also is a very well off, very well informed guy. So I definitely will take my bets with him being heavily supplemented and probably getting like IV B12 shots and having a really good supplementation. Those things are pricey. I don't know a lot of people who can afford to be constantly getting their blood work, constantly getting all these like vitamin shots and taking really pricey vitamins, but that is just something to keep in mind as well. But one, he's not a woman. Two, he turned vegan when he was 40 years old. So way different from me being a 20-year-old female who eventually wants to have babies. Way different circumstance. And I think this is important to note. Like, sure, maybe some people can thrive off of eating a plant-based diet or time. It's really hard with all of the stuff that I've really researched and dived into to really think that it is actually like a healthy diet for longevity and for most people. It's really hard just because the very nature of it, it is so deficient in choline and cholesterol and in saturated fat and vitamin B12, all these things that are really important for the human body. So it's hard for me to say that I think it's good for everyone. But okay, sure, maybe some people can thrive longer on a vegan diet. And I think people do experience good health for doing a vegan diet for a period of time. Say, hey, I'm going to go 3 months being vegan. I think that could actually be really helpful for a lot of people. I'm not saying that they are not receiving benefits from that. I think it's the long-term eating that way and cleansing too much. That's what deteriorates the body, and that's what's really harmful. So sure, go plant-based for a month, but like understand that there's different phases of the body, there's cleansing phases, there's building phases, and we can't always be in that cleansing phase. So there's a time where you need to just start adding back in those building foods, and it's super important. I'm getting off topic here now. So started eating the animal products, my hormones started kicking back in, my brain fog, that was huge. Towards the end of my vegan journey, guys, I could not even put together a sentence. I'm not even kidding. You look back at like my Instagram stories from that time and it's pretty bad. It's really bad. I now no longer have that brain fog. Like, it is literally like I have been lifted out above the clouds into the blue open sky. Like, I no longer feel like my brain is sort of just shut down and really fuzzy. My brain feels sharp. It feels clear. It feels very just like spot on. I'm thinking very fast and on my feet now. And that was something that I couldn't do when I was eating a vegan diet. It wasn't working for me. My brain needed more fats. My brain needed cholesterol. My brain just needed goddamn nutrition. So my brain health was a huge plus and a huge thing that I noticed quite quickly. Other things that I started to notice, my hair wasn't falling out. The last 6 months of my vegan journey, my hair started falling out in handfuls again, which was very reminiscent of the time that I was anorexic when I was 14. So my body obviously wasn't getting the nutrition it needed. Again, even though I was supplementing so religiously, guys, I was taking a vegan EPA, DHA, I was taking B12 very religiously. What else was I taking? I was taking those two, and then I was just doing a lot of superfoods. So every day for the last, no joke, because I have the orders online. I can see when I started buying my chlorella and when I stopped. So for like 6 months, I was eating chlorella and spirulina and barley and wheatgrass and all those things daily in my shake that I was buying. And yet I was still very deficient in so many things, even though people were saying you can you can get everything you need from a vegan diet. And that's another thing that really bothers me, is that so many people, not so many people, I think for the most part actually a lot of vegans are, they're doing their due diligence, and they are saying hey, um, you really should supplement with B12. Like I said though, I was supplementing with it and that wasn't affecting my levels at all. It wasn't until I started eating red meat that my levels of B12 actually started to change. So supplementation does affect the body, or we assimilate it differently than we do in food. I think that's just important to note. But I think most people, most vegan YouTubers are out there saying supplement with B12. Some though, and this really is when you get into like the crazy sort of raw foodist type of vegans, they're saying that you can get enough simply by like not washing your vegetables or by eating spirulina. Please guys, please do not think that you just need to go out there and eat dirt. So let's explain this a little bit here. Cows, they have high sources of B12, right? Beef is a high source of B12. Why? Well, a cow is a ruminant animal. A cow has multiple stomachs. A cow is able to convert B12 from the grass and the dirt that it eats. We are not ruminant animals. We have one stomach. We have a completely different digestive system than a ruminant animal. We are not able to make this conversion as easily or hardly at all compared to the cow that can. So what's the next best option, guys? To eat the freaking cow, because we can get the B12 that is stored in its muscles. So it was things like that that I just didn't really understand. And it wasn't until I started really questioning the vegan diet that I started really looking into all this stuff and being like, oh my gosh, maybe all these things that like the vegans just sort of like say, maybe they don't have that much scientific validation. And there were so many other stories like that. The whole like, you know, monkeys are herbivores and look how strong they are. Okay, I lived in Costa Rica growing up. I have seen personally monkeys who are definitely for sure carnivorous. Some monkeys even eat other monkeys, guys. Like, they eat animal products. I don't know where we got this idea that all they're eating is bananas all day. That's not true. Now, there's different varieties of monkeys, I will say that. Some are more primarily like just eating bananas, but a lot of them are eating, or they are carnivorous. So that's an important note there. And again, it's just we are completely different from lots of these animals who are vegan and vegetarian. So let's get back to some things here. I do want to say that I think one of the best things that has come out of the vegan movement that I'm very thankful for, and I'm very thankful that I went vegan. I'm thankful I went vegan so that I could really understand this a lot more, but that is the awareness of what factory farms are doing. Now, I understood this though without going vegan, because when I was really heavily sort of in the Weston A Price, and I went to the daily, there's a chapter here in my town, so I went to those meetings and met a lot of people in that realm, so I was really heavily involved in that. I was all for the sustainable, organic, grass-fed meat. But I do think that for the general population, the vegan diet is really bringing awareness to what is going on in that world, and I think factory farming is absolutely awful. And I do not like to support that type of meat. And I don't think that it is wise for us to be spending our money and supporting that type of industry. Now, the thing with this though is that the vegans like to go like, oh, well, you know, look at what they're doing, this factory farm, it's absolutely disgusting, it's absolutely gross, how can you ever eat animals? And it's completely, I mean, it's just an extreme, guys, and it's not looking at like, okay, well, just because there's these awful like factory farms who put like all their chickens in like rows, you know, standing above each other in this dark like crowded space, does not mean that eating chicken is bad. And it doesn't mean that animal agriculture always has to be like that. I have chickens in my backyard. My chickens are like, they're the happiest little creatures in the world. They have this gigantic 1-acre garden to roam around in. They have lots of fresh air. We put them in at night, but even like in their little house, like they have their little house, but then they have a whole gated sort of thing where they just get to be in the outdoors, and we give them lots of our scraps and all of that. But then we open up those gates even every day, and we let them out in the garden. They're eating our kale, they're eating lots of our worms, they're eating lots of our tomatoes, unfortunately, lots of our chard. They get into our food, which is sort of annoying, but we really do believe in allowing them to have that free open range and that space to just be, and we understand that it's healthy for them, so that's what we do. Regenerative farming is super, super important, and it's really hard to have good, healthy soil without that. So now we're seeing a problem with all of these monocrops, which is a lot what the vegan community is sort of promoting. It's like they eat a lot of wheat, they eat a lot of soy, they eat a lot of corn, and those are the biggest monocrops in our country right now. And the monocrops are notorious for depleting our topsoil of vital nutrients that we need to grow healthy food. It's important to have a biodiversity in gardens. I work for one of the largest organic farmers in my town right now, guys. We do not just have like rows and rows and rows and rows and rows of kale. We mix everything together, and it's so important to have good, healthy, fertile soil, to have compost, and to also have fertilizer, to have, you know, manure that's on our vegetables. I'm sorry to say it, but that's how we grow healthy food, is by manure. So that's how it's been done, and that is the most I should say that's the way to really work with nature to grow our food without depleting our soil and depleting the quality of the food. So there are farms that are out there that are doing great work. I personally buy raw milk, and it's from a farm that I have been to. The cows have this open green pasture that they're on all day. They are treated really well. I remember actually when I was leaving veganism, I watched this video. It was what was it? It was a Netflix series video thing where they were showcasing a bunch of different chefs from around the world. And there's this one guy in Italy who had a dad who was a butcher, and he grew up and he just like did not like that and did not want to participate that, and he ended up turning vegetarian, and he ended up becoming a chef and cooking primarily vegetarian food. And then his father died, and he had to move back to a small little town in Italy, and he had to take over the family business. And for the first little bit, it was really, really hard for him, and he was like, this goes so against like everything that I've been like doing the last couple years in regards to eating a vegetarian diet and being a vegetarian. And he ended up, it was really cool to see the sort of the transformation that he had as he became this butcher, and he started going to the farms, and he started really recognizing how these out there, these farmers are really taking care of their cattle, and they really want their animals to be healthy and strong. They take good care of them because they realize that will definitely affect the quality of the meat, and that it's healthier for us as human beings. And so he ended up having this huge change of heart as he saw like how animal agriculture can be done right, and how there's a beautiful way to eat animal products by respecting the animal and by using nose to tail every single part of the animal, and not just like throwing away half of the carcass, right? Like, how can we eat the tongue? How can we eat the hooves? How can we eat the liver, the kidneys, like all this stuff, and really utilize that animal so that its life was used for so much good. And he really had a change of heart, and that really affected me. I was like, oh my gosh, maybe I, like, yes, factory farming is so bad, but wow, me really supporting these farmers who are taking care of their animals and really producing just great quality products, maybe that's my option here. And so I do support free range, organic, grass-fed, all of that. That is the meat that I buy. I buy everything pretty much at the farmer's market. And the quality of that meat is definitely way, way, way different from the meat that you can buy at the store. Back to my health. This is gonna ramble on, but no, I'm gonna get to this. So back to my health here. So I started incorporating all of these animal products. Like I said, I went gung-ho and I really was eating a lot of them. I still, to this day, my diet is not primarily, I have a good healthy balance of it all, guys, but animal products are definitely a staple in my diet. I eat lots of eggs. I still to this day do 4 egg omelets, and I usually have some sort of like fish or meat for lunch and some sort of fish or meat for dinner. That's what really works for me. I do lots of raw dairy. I love, love, love my cheese, and I absolutely love butter. So with me incorporating all these things, what happened to all those digestive problems that happened? The bloating, the constipation, the feeling like there's a rock in my stomach. I was really curious to see how eating all these, what in my mind was very dense and very heavy type of foods, like what was that going to do to my digestive system? I have not been chronically bloated since leaving veganism. Like, I'm hardly bloated, guys. Like, it actually really weirds me out how much I can eat now and not be bloated. My stomach feels fine. I have no more constipation. I have no more sharp pains in my lower intestines. I have no more feeling like a rock is sitting in my stomach. I feel like my digestive system finally works, as in I eat food, I get up, I put the food away, and I go about my day, and I don't feel my digestive system at all. It's great, it's wonderful, it's beautiful, it's amazing, and that has by far been one of the best sort of things that has happened. Again, eating so much fiber is just really, really harmful to your gut microbiome and to your intestines. It's really hard to digest. It's too much. It's unbalanced. And again, my grandma used to always tell me this, and I'd be like, what on earth do you know? Like, this is not unbalanced. Let me have my broccoli for breakfast. Now I'm like, oh shit, yeah, the more I increase my plant foods, the worse my digestive system feels. So I know now that like the best breakfast for me is like 4 eggs, maybe with like some blueberries and some prosciutto or something like that. Like that to me is a really good solid breakfast, and it doesn't hurt my stomach at all, and it's absolutely amazing. Other things that I've experienced, guys, and the biggest one probably is that after 6 months of leaving veganism, I got my first menstrual cycle for the first time in 11 years. That was huge. I don't think no matter how much I ate of a vegan diet, even if I ate 5,000, 6,000 calories a day, I honestly don't think that I would have ever gotten my period back. It's lacking in so many things that I needed to get my hormones in check. Cholesterol, such a huge important part of having happy, healthy hormones. Again, a plant-based diet is void of cholesterol. There's no way for me to have gotten that. I really needed that saturated fat. I really feel like dairy was such a huge beneficial beneficiary. I really feel like dairy was such a beneficial thing for me. Again, I'm French. My constitution really, really loves butter, cheese, milk, all of that. I understand that some people can't digest dairy as well. Like I said, I do raw milk, and that tends to really digest a lot easier and better than pasteurized milk, because pasteurization, you can kill all of the bacteria, which yes, you kill the bad, but you also kill the good. So a lot of people have like lactose intolerance issues with pasteurized milk, but not raw milk. Definitely do your own research. I think just regardless, it's good to get organic milk from non-antibiotic fed cows. But for me, I have a really good source of organic raw milk, and I really trust it, and they do a lot of testing, so I feel good and fine with that. You may not feel comfortable with that, that's fine, but look into the organic milk and see how that makes you feel. So yeah, anyways, I really feel like eating lots of butter and cheese really was really, really beneficial for my health. And best of all, guys, is it tastes good. Like, I love this type of food. I'm sorry, but I don't know how I ever thought vegan cheese tasted like real cheese. It doesn't. It doesn't. Sure, some products taste decent, but hell no. I would take a beautiful like Roquefort or Brie or Camembert over vegan cheese any day. Like any day. It just does not compare. And I really think it's important to eat a diet that you really love the taste of and it brings you pleasure and it's yummy. And yeah, I liked some of the meals I made while I was vegan. I can just really honestly say if I took one of the meals I liked when I was vegan and I take one of the meals I like now as an omnivore, I'm picking this one, guys. Like, there's no question about that. 100% picking this one. So I'm trying to think if there was anything else. I mean, everything. Literally everything that I had an issue with went away once I started eating animal products, and I'm not even joking with that. I'm no longer constipated. I have my period. My hair is thick and strong, and it's not going anywhere. What else happening? Oh, I'm thinking straight. I am not anxious anymore. That was something I didn't realize how grounding animal products are. They're very grounding. They bring you back to Mother Earth instead of making you feel like you're just going to like reach into nirvana, which I guess is why a lot of yogis like to eat vegan because they feel like I'm just like ascending. I'm like, no, you're just like so out of it and so anxious like that you are just like not here on Earth. But the animal products really do have an energy of like nourishment, grounding, like really just brings you back back down to a good energetic level. And so that is something that I've really noticed in my personality and just my overall energy that has been really beneficial. Other things, I think just the freedom to eat with other people and to really just not care is huge, really, really huge, guys. And that is, we can't underestimate the importance because we are here as a community of human beings, and it's really important to be able to eat and break bread with others and to be able to sit down over a meal and to enjoy what they're eating. And I personally just see how much the vegan diet was pulling me away from my family, is pulling me away from my friends. Sure, I'd sit down and eat, I'd like pick up the food, I'd eat all this stuff. There's a difference when it's like mama cooks like a beautiful homemade lamb stew and you actually eat the whole thing. Like, there's a difference there. And so I think me coming together and sort of being a part of this human race and being open to receiving any food has really opened up a lot of experiences for me and has really deepened my relationships with others. And that is so healthy. And it's time that we stop thinking that health is merely just what we put in our body as far as diet. Health is so many other things. We receive nourishment in so many other ways. It's our relationships, it's our career, it's the amount of autonomy we feel at work, it's the clean air that we have, it's the amount of nature that we get. There's so many, our connection to the divine, whatever we want that to be, or some sort of spirituality. Like, there's so many other things that bring us nourishment and health and happiness in our life that to solely think that it's going to come from food is just severely misguided, because while food plays an important part in our overall health, there's so much more. And as someone who studied public health, we really dive into those other things. We really dive into the importance of having access to health care and, like I said, the autonomy at work. Like, there's all these social determinants of health, and diet is a small little part. So last thing before I wrap it up, guys, is my skin. My skin was starting to feel so dry. I was never hydrated. I was getting a lot of wrinkles. My eyes were sunkening in. So this really got to me. I mean, I'm not saying I'm vain, but I think we all want to look good and stuff. And seeing me at 25 years old having sunken eyes, baggy eyes, and wrinkly skin, and like always completely dry, like that was really scary. And I was like, oh my gosh. Started researching it and being like, wow, vegan diet doesn't really have a lot of collagen. I need to be eating collagen. Where do I get that? Well, bone broth is a great place to get collagen. Eating animal products, this is a great source of collagen. I wasn't eating a lot of collagen. If you look at my skin now, like, it is absolutely just amazing just how tight my skin feels. And how hydrated my skin is, and it is just night and day different. I feel like I have a youthful glow again. I was sort of looking really old and really just malnourished, and yeah, I was just like, yeah, I was just not looking too hot, guys. But now I definitely feel like I have that sense of like youthfulness in my look again, and that has been so great. Last thing, 'cause there's so many things, you guys, that happened. I'm actually able to make gains at the gym now. My muscles, I'm like super strong. Like, this is like, for me, that's unreal. Okay, no more of that. But okay, especially my legs, my arms are not that big. Maybe I shouldn't show you my arms. My legs are very strong. I have muscle tone. That was something that I just could not get to happen on my vegan diet. Eating nuts and seeds and tofu for my protein just was not cutting it. That was not allowing me to make my gains. I am now able to actually build muscle and be so much stronger on my bike, and so much stronger in the gym in general. And it's insane how I'm just like, I didn't need more protein powder, more vegan protein powder. That's not what I needed. I needed to actually eat steak, and that's what was going to help me actually build a strong, healthy body. Okay, so now I'm officially ending this video because it is way too long, but I really hope that this was really helpful for you guys. I experienced a huge shift in my health. I know that so many other people leaving a veganism or leaving a plant-based diet have experienced this health as well. So if you are sitting here and being like, oh my gosh, I have all these things, I have all of these things, like, what is going on? I can't build muscle, I'm losing my hair, I don't have a menstrual cycle, I have the sunken eyes, my skin is like not hydrated at all. If you're having all these things, maybe it's time to start incorporating animal products into your diet. Experiment. The only way you will know is if you just are open enough to experiment. Like I said in the beginning, I've had to do this type of stuff time and time again in my life. I've had to really be open-minded with the strict thoughts and rigid patterns of belief that I had. I really have had to be like, okay, but I'm going to question this. I'm going to question it. I'm going to experiment. I'm going to see if it works. I think that that is a really important quality that a lot of people in this day and age are missing. We are so like, no, but this is the way, and I'm right, and all of this, and we get so stuck and fixated in our ways of believing. And it's time that we be open to experimenting, especially when something's not working for us. Be open to, wow, okay, maybe veganism isn't this holy grail. Maybe I should start noticing and experimenting. Maybe I should start experimenting for what works with me, because I will tell you this, there is not one diet out there that works for everyone, guys. We are so different genetically, we have different preferences, we come from different cultures and different backgrounds. Like, there's no right way to eat. There's no one way. I can't say have this for breakfast, have this for lunch, have this for dinner. This is why I don't do what I eat in the day videos, because it's like, I eat what works best for me. You need to find what works best for you. Maybe you are going to be, more plant-based, but do you need that salmon and that steak every, couple days to really make you healthy? Experiment with that. Figure it out for you. I think that that was the best thing that I did, was be like, I'm listening to my body. If it's craving eggs, I'm eating the damn eggs, and I'm not letting any label tell me that I shouldn't be eating those eggs, when I need to just focus on what works best for me. So that's all I have for today. My mouth is like, that was a lot of talking, guys. Please subscribe to my channel, especially if you're someone who deals with eating disorders, or someone who is really questioning the vegan diet, questioning whether you should be vegan, or already are vegan and are like, I don't know if this is working for me anymore. Please subscribe to my channel. Please like it. That helps other people find the work that I'm doing. And also, please share it with anyone you know who is struggling with this. I really appreciate that. I spend a lot of time doing these things, guys, on top of my work, on top of working with clients and all of that. So I really appreciate it if this can get sent out to all those people who need it. That's about it. I have a lot of other videos you can go check out on my channel. Thank you so much for being here. I would love to see you in the comment section, so don't be shy. Also, I know veganism tends to bring out the worst in some people. There's not a lot of tolerance when it comes to ex-vegans that I've seen online on the internet, guys. So please just be mindful that we're all human beings. We're all trying to find what's best for us, and that there's no reason to really come and attack people. So if we can open up for more discussions and being respectful of each other and our opinions and our experiences, I think that that is really important. And I just ask that you abide by those sort of guidelines for the comment section. Okay, guys, all right, I'm going to go. Have a great day.